The small ship landed without a sound in the thick forest. Its outer shell changed colors to match the trees and dirt around it. When the door opened, not even a hiss of air could be heard. Krazoth stepped onto earth soil for the first time. His 7-foot frame moved with the grace of flowing water. His skin shifted colors until he was nearly invisible against the forest background. Only a slight shimmer in the air showed where he stood. 17 star systems knew his name. 17 worlds spoke it only in whispers. Krazoth, the hunter. Krazoth, the death that comes from the stars. He clicked his claws together, the sound like knives being sharpened. His yellow eyes scanned the forest, taking in more details than any earth creature could see. He could smell water 2 miles away. He could hear the heartbeats of small animals hiding in their burrows. Computer, he spoke in a low rumble. Analysis of local life forms. The small device on his wrist lit up. Primitive ecosystem, dominated by carbon-based life. No significant predators in this region. Krazoth hissed in disappointment. He had come to this backwater planet looking for a challenge. The galaxy was running out of worthy hunts. He had killed the 6-legged death beasts of Cygnus. He had hunted the mind readers of Tau Ceti. He had even faced the living storms of the gas giants in the Orion Belt. All had fallen before him. All had become trophies. His collection room on his homeworld held the remains of the greatest killers the known universe had to offer. But it wasn't enough. Never enough. Computer, locate the intelligent species of this world, he commanded. Humans, detected. Small settlement 12 miles north. Single human habitat detected 3 miles east. Krazoth's mouth parts opened in what passed for a smile among his kind. The Vexar were the ultimate predators, evolved over millions of years to hunt and kill. His body was a perfect weapon. Claws that could cut through metal. Skin that could change to match any background. Senses that could track prey across vast distances. And if injured, his body would heal at an amazing speed. He had heard stories about Earth, about the creatures called humans who were spreading across their solar system. Intelligence always made for interesting hunts. Intelligence meant challenge. Computer, show me the nearest human. A small hologram appeared above his wrist. A female human in green clothes walking alone through the forest. She carried a small pack and some kind of primitive scanning device. Park Ranger Sarah Chen. The computer read from intercepted data. Signals. Assigned to monitor wildlife in northern Montana wilderness area. So she hunts as well, Krazoth said, his voice like gravel sliding down a hill. But she has never faced a hunter like me. He moved into the forest, each step silent despite his size. His claws extended, gleaming in the brief patches of sunlight that broke through the trees. The toxin sacs near the tips were full. One scratch would paralyze his prey long enough for the final kill. Krazoth began tracking the human. This would be an easy hunt, he thought. But perhaps the human would provide a few moments of interest before joining his collection. He did not know that he had just made the greatest mistake of his hunting career. He did not know that humans were not prey. And he certainly did not know that Sarah Chen was not just any human. Sarah Chen walked through the quiet forest with careful steps. Her eyes missed nothing. 3 years in this wilderness had taught her every tree, every rock, and every sound that belonged here. And some sounds didn't belong. She stopped and listened. The birds had gone quiet in this area. That meant something was moving nearby. Something the birds feared. A bear, maybe, or a mountain lion. Sarah wasn't worried. The gun on her hip was just for emergencies. Her mind was her best weapon. It had kept her alive through 3 wars. Not many know what I used to be, she whispered to herself. And that's how I like it. Before she became a park ranger, Sarah had been something else. Something deadly. Special. Forces. The kind of soldier sent where others couldn't go to do things others couldn't do. She had been good at her job. Too good. It left marks on her soul that wouldn't heal. So she came here to the mountains to find peace. Her cabin stood in a small clearing 2 miles ahead. It looked simple from outside. Plain wood walls, a small porch, a tin roof. Inside was different. Inside were things she had hoped never to use again. Sarah knelt to check a small device fixed to a tree. It was one of her trail cameras, set to take pictures when animals passed by. She changed the memory card and moved on. Later in her cabin, she looked at the pictures. Deer, rabbits, a fox. Then something strange. A blur that shouldn't be there. Something tall that made the camera's motion sensor trigger, but didn't show clearly in the image. Odd, she said, leaning closer to her screen. Very odd. The next morning, Sarah found tracks she couldn't identify. They were like nothing she had seen before. Too big for a mountain lion, wrong shape for a bear, and the way they moved through the forest. Straight, purposeful, intelligent. Something was hunting in her forest. Most people would have called for help. Sarah Chen was not most people. Instead, she began setting up more cameras. She placed thin sticks across game trails that would break if something passed. She scattered special sand in certain places that would hold footprints better. If you're out there, she said to the empty forest, I'll find you. That night, she took out a locked box from under her bed. The combination was a date she would never forget. The day her team had been attacked, the day she alone had survived. Inside the box were things from her old life: night vision goggles, a tactical knife, special ammunition, communications equipment that wasn't standard for park rangers. Sarah hadn't felt the old instincts wake up in a long time, but they were awake now. The part of her that had been trained to hunt other humans, to survive in enemy territory, to notice things others missed, that part was fully alert. Something's wrong in my forest, she said, checking her equipment. And whatever you are, you picked the wrong ranger to mess with. What Sarah didn't know was that eyes were watching her. Alien eyes. And for the first time in many hunts, those eyes held a flicker of curiosity about the prey they observed. 3 days passed. Krezoth watched the human female from the shadows. He stayed downwind, his body perfectly blended with the trees and rocks. Not once had she looked directly at him. Yet something was wrong. She searches for me, Krezoth whispered, to himself. His yellow eyes narrowed as he watched Sarah check another of her small cameras. Impossible. My cloaking is perfect. But the evidence was clear. The human wasn't following normal patterns. She was setting traps, watching, waiting, looking for signs, looking for him. On most worlds, prey ran from shadows. They followed the same paths each day. They lived in fear. This human showed no fear. She moved through the forest like she owned it. Her eyes scanned the trees with purpose. When she found one of his footprints, a small mistake he had made while crossing a muddy stream, she didn't run. She studied it, took pictures, set up more cameras nearby. Krezoth had never seen prey act like a hunter before. Curious, he said. He touched the controls on his wrist. Computer, more information on this human. The small screen showed military records, special forces, combat experienced, highly trained in survival, tracking, and combat. A warrior, Krezoth hissed with new interest, not just a simple forest keeper. That night he decided to test her. He deliberately stepped in front of one of her cameras. The small flash told him it had taken his picture. His cloaking would blur the image, but she would know something had triggered the device. When Sarah came to check the camera the next morning, Krezoth was waiting. He used a small sonic device to loosen rocks on the hillside above her. Not enough to harm, just enough to see how she would react. The rocks tumbled down with a crash. A normal human would have panicked, run blindly. Made mistakes. Sarah didn't. In one smooth motion, she dropped to the ground, rolled to a protected spot behind a fallen tree, and pulled her weapon. Her eyes scanned the hillside methodically. She didn't fire wildly. She searched for a target. For him. Impressive, Krezoth said quietly. A feeling he hadn't known in centuries crept through his body. Uncertainty. When Sarah spoke, her voice was calm. Too calm for someone who should be afraid. I know you're out there, she called. I don't know what you are, but this is my forest, my territory. Krazoth felt something strange, a tingle of excitement. This hunt might be interesting after all. Back at her cabin that night, Sarah reviewed the camera footage. The blur was clearer this time. Definitely not an animal she recognized. Too tall, too thin. The way it moved wasn't right. What are you? She whispered to the blurry image. Miles away, hidden in the darkness, Krazoth made a decision. The observation phase was over. Tomorrow the hunt would truly begin. Neither predator nor prey slept well that night. Both sensed the coming confrontation. Both prepared in their own way, and both underestimated the other. Sarah knew something was watching her. Years of military training had taught her to trust her instincts. The rock slide was no accident. The strange tracks were not from any animal she knew. The blurry images on her cameras showed something that shouldn't exist. Time to get serious, she said to herself. In her cabin, Sarah moved the large rug in the living room. Beneath it was a trapdoor. She opened it and climbed down into a small, cool space under the floor. Here in this hidden room were things from her past life, things she had hoped never to use again. She took out a metal case and opened it. Inside were advanced sensors, better than any normal park ranger would have, military grade. She also took out body armor that could stop bullets, special night vision goggles, and weapons more powerful than her ranger pistol. You picked the wrong human to hunt, she whispered. As night fell, Sarah turned her cabin into a fortress. She placed sensors near the windows and doors. She set up traps that would warn her if anything approached. She loaded her weapons and placed them where she could reach them quickly. Then she waited. Miles away, Krazoth prepared for the hunt. He cleaned his claws and checked the poison sacs near the tips. One scratch would paralyze the human long enough for him to study her before the final kill. Computer, disable all safety limits, he said. This prey may require full hunting capability. The small device on his wrist beeped in response. Now, his weapons and tools would function at maximum power. It was rare that he needed this. Most prey fell easily to his basic abilities, but something told him this human was different. Krazoth moved through the darkness toward Sarah's cabin. No earth animal could see him. His cloaking made him nearly invisible. His footsteps made no sound. He could hear the human's heartbeat from outside the cabin walls. Steady. Calm. Not the rapid beat of fear he usually heard from prey. He circled the cabin once, looking for the best way in. The door would be too obvious. The windows might make noise. He decided on the roof. A quick climb, then through the chimney like the human myth she might have heard as a child. The irony pleased him. As he prepared to leap up, his foot triggered something in the dirt. A small light blinked. Inside the cabin, Sarah's eyes fixed on a small screen that showed a heat signature outside, a body temperature no earth creature would have got you, she whispered. She moved to a window and fired her weapon without hesitation. The bullet flew true. Krazoth felt something hit his shoulder. Pain. Actual pain. The bullet had somehow penetrated his armored skin. Blue, glowing blood leaked from the wound. He hissed in shock and retreated into the forest. No prey had ever wounded him on the first encounter. No prey had ever detected him before he struck. As he disappeared into the trees, Sarah watched through her night vision goggles. She saw the strange glowing blood on the ground. You bleed, she said quietly. And if you bleed, you can die. In the darkness, for the first time in centuries, Krazoth felt something new. Respect for his prey. Krazoth limped back to his hidden ship, blue blood dripping from his shoulder. The pain was unfamiliar. In hundreds of hunts across many worlds, few creatures had ever managed to hurt him. None had done it so quickly. Inside his ship, he sat in the healing chamber. Soft light covered his body as the wound began to close. As he healed, a small metal piece pushed out of his flesh. The bullet fragment. Computer, analyze this weapon. he said, placing the metal in a scanner. Simple projectile. Weapon, lead in copper construction. Primitive chemical propellant. Krazoth hissed in disbelief. How did such a basic weapon penetrate my armor? The velocity exceeds standard parameters for primitive species. The human has modified the weapon to fire at higher speeds. This was unexpected. The human wasn't just lucky, she was smart. She had prepared for something like him, though she couldn't have known what he was. I have underestimated this prey, he said to himself. That will not happen again. He began upgrading, his armor adding extra layers where the bullet had struck. He studied the human weapons more carefully, adjusting his defenses to counter them. Meanwhile, Sarah followed the glowing blue blood trail into the forest. The strange liquid gave off enough light to see without her flashlight. She collected, some in a small tube, careful not to touch it. Whatever you are, your blood is not from this world, she whispered. She followed the trail for a mile before stopping. The forest ahead felt wrong. Her instincts warned her of danger. A trap, perhaps. She decided to be cautious and turned back. In her cabin, Sarah examined the blue blood under a small microscope. The cells moved in ways no earth blood would. They seemed to be repairing themselves as she watched. Regenerative capabilities, she noted. That explains why it didn't leave more blood. She mixed the alien blood with different chemicals, watching the reactions. When she added copper powder, the blood bubbled and lost its glow. Interesting. You don't like copper. Sarah began modifying her bullets, coating them with copper and other metals. She didn't know which would work best, so she prepared different types. She also set up more sensors around her cabin and in the surrounding forest. If the creature returned, she would know. Both hunter and hunted worked through the night. Both adapted their strategies. Both prepared for the next encounter. Krazoth studied the human's patterns, looking for weaknesses. He discovered her sensors and learned to avoid them. He analyzed her cabin's structure, finding the best points to attack. Sarah studied the alien blood, creating better weapons. She reinforced her windows and doors. She planned escape routes and fighting positions. The simple hunt had become something more. A contest between equals. A battle of minds as much as strength. As dawn approached, a new element entered the game. Dark clouds gathered overhead. Lightning flashed in the distance. A major storm was coming. The weather will provide cover, Krazoth thought. The storm will hide his approach, Sarah thought. Neither knew how the wilderness itself was about to become the third player in their deadly game. The storm arrived with fury. Heavy rain pounded the forest. Wind bent the trees. Fog rolled in thick and white, making it hard to see more than 10 feet ahead. Krazoth stood on a ridge, watching the weather with satisfaction. His kind evolved in harsh environments. His eyes could see through rain and fog better than any earth creature. The storm would hide his movements while blinding his prey. Perfect hunting conditions, he said to himself. He activated his enhanced senses. The rain couldn't mask sounds or smells from him. Lightning flashed, and in that brief light, he spotted Sarah's cabin in the distance. But something was wrong. No smoke came from the chimney. No light showed in the windows. Sarah was gone. Miles away, deep in the forest, Sarah moved through a network of caves she had mapped over the years. She knew the storm would give the creature an advantage in the open. So she changed the game. Never fight on your enemy's terms, she reminded herself, remembering her military training. The caves were her secret, a maze of tunnels and chambers that ran beneath the mountains. She had spent months exploring them, marking safe paths, noting dangerous areas. Now they were her fortress. She set up a small camp in a dry chamber. Her supplies were simple but effective. Food, water, weapons, and the equipment she needed to track the creature. Let him search the cabin, she thought. I'll be hunting him. The storm grew stronger. Water poured down the mountainsides, turning small streams into raging rivers. Lightning struck trees, starting small fires that the rain quickly put out. Krazoth approached the empty cabin cautiously. He circled it twice, looking for traps. Finding none, he broke through a window and entered. The human was definitely gone. But where? He searched for clues. A map on the wall caught his attention. It showed the surrounding area, with marks in certain places. One section was circled in red. The caves, he realized. She's hiding underground. As he prepared to leave, a massive lightning bolt struck nearby. The flash temporarily blinded his sensitive eyes. Worse, the electrical surge damaged some of his equipment. His heat sensors failed. His advanced tracking system went dark. Minor setback, he growled, switching to his natural abilities. He followed Sarah's trail through the rain-soaked forest. The water made tracking difficult, but not impossible. He moved quickly despite the storm, eager to finish this hunt that had become too complicated. What he didn't notice was that Sarah's trail led directly toward an area marked Danger on her map. The ground had been saturated by days of rain before the storm. The soil was loose, unstable. As Krazoth followed the trail down a narrow ravine, water began to rise around his feet. Suddenly, the mountainside above gave way. A wall of mud, rocks, and trees crashed down. A flash flood filled the ravine in seconds. Even Krazoth's strength and speed couldn't save him from nature's fury. The flood swept him away, tumbling him through the water until he was dumped into a dark cave entrance. Bruised and disoriented, he pulled himself onto a stone ledge. His equipment was damaged. He was lost in the cave system. And for the first time, Krazoth realized a terrifying truth. He was no longer the hunter. He was the hunted. Krazoth limped through the dark cave tunnels. Water dripped from the ceiling. His night vision still worked, but the cave system seemed endless. Every tunnel led to more tunnels. Some were too small for his tall frame. Others ended in drops, too deep to see the bottom. For the first time in centuries, the great hunter felt something cold in his chest. Fear. His legs still hurt from the flood. His equipment sparked and failed. The cave walls blocked his communication with his ship. He was alone, injured, and lost. Worse, he sensed the human was nearby. She knows these caves, he realized. This is her territory. A sound echoed through the tunnels, a tapping noise like metal on stone, then another from a different direction, and another. Sarah was using the cave acoustics to confuse him. The e-dinger sounds bounced off the walls, making it impossible to tell where they came from. Clever prey, Krazoth whispered. But prey was still prey. He would find her, kill her, add her to his collection. He turned a corner and found a small metal object. On the ground, one of the human's devices. He reached for it cautiously. The device suddenly let out a high-pitched sound that hurt his sensitive ears. He stumbled back, disoriented. When the ringing in his ears stopped, he heard a voice. Sarah's voice, coming from somewhere in the darkness. "You're not from Earth," she said. Her voice echoed, impossible to locate. "Your blood, your technology, you're hunting me," Krazoth hissed. "I am Krazoth of the Vexar. I have hunted the deadliest creatures in 17 star systems. You should be honored to be my prey." Silence for a moment. Then, "How many humans have you hunted before me?" "You are the first," he admitted. "Your world is far from the known systems." A small laugh echoed through the caves. "Then you made a mistake. We're not like other species." Something clattered across the floor near him, a small cylinder. Before he could react, it exploded in bright light. His eyes, adapted for the darkness, felt like they were on fire. As he recovered, he realized a profound truth. This human didn't fight like prey. She didn't even fight like the predators he had faced. She fought differently. She adapted constantly. She used the environment, she studied his weaknesses and exploited them. "What are you?" he called into the darkness. Sarah's voice came again, closer this time. "We're humans. We didn't evolve as the strongest or fastest. We survived because we're clever. We make tools, we solve problems, we work together." Krazoth backed against a wall, scanning the darkness. Every shadow might hide the human. Apex predators evolved to be perfect hunters. Sarah continued. But that makes you predictable. Humans evolved to adapt, to change, to turn weaknesses into strengths. For the first time, Krazoth realized he might not win this hunt. This was no ordinary prey. This human represented something he had never encountered before. In desperation, he made a decision. He activated his emergency beacon. It would bring his ship to him, breaking through the cave ceiling if necessary. The signal would also be detected by Earth's monitoring systems, revealing his presence to the human world. But he had no choice. The hunter needed to escape the hunted. What he didn't know was that Sarah had anticipated this move, and she was ready. The cave ceiling cracked open with a terrible sound. Rocks fell as bright light poured in from above. Krazoth's ship had responded to his emergency signal. A blue beam of light cut through the darkness, creating a path for extraction. "Too late, human," Krazoth called out. "My hunt here is finished." He moved toward the light, limping but determined. His ship would take him to safety. He would leave this planet and its dangerous humans behind. As he stepped into the blue beam, he heard a small beeping sound. All around the cave chamber, small lights began to flash. "What is this?" he growled. Sarah's voice came from a small device near his feet. "I've been busy while you wandered my caves. Those are explosives, enough to bring down the whole mountain." Krazoth looked up at his ship, now visible through the hole in the ceiling. Freedom was so close, but the human had set a final trap. "You would die too," he said. "These explosives would kill us both." "Maybe," Sarah replied, but her voice wasn't coming from the device anymore. She stepped out from behind a large rock, holding a detonator in one hand and her gun in the other. Her face was dirty, her clothes torn, but her eyes were clear and focused. "Or maybe I know these caves better than you think. Maybe I know exactly which tunnels will stay safe." Krazoth tensed, ready to leap at her. His claws extended, poison ready. One scratch would end this. "Don't," Sarah warned. "I only need to—" "Press this button. Your ship will be buried. You'll be trapped here forever." For a long moment, neither moved. The great hunter and the human stood facing each other at a stalemate. Then Krazoth did something he had never done before. He lowered his claws. "You have won, human," he said. "This hunt is yours." Sarah didn't lower her gun. "Why did you come here? Why hunt humans?" "To prove I am the greatest hunter in the universe. To add your species to my collection." Sarah shook her head. "That's your mistake. We're not a trophy to be collected. We survived on Earth by outsmarting bigger, stronger predators. We learned to use our minds when our bodies weren't enough." The blue light from the ship grew stronger, beginning to pull Krazoth upward. He had to make a choice. "What will you do now, human?" he asked. Sarah finally lowered her gun. "I'm letting you go. Not because I'm merciful, but because I want you to deliver a message." Krazoth nodded slowly, understanding. "Tell your kind," Sarah said, "that Earth is off limits. Tell them what happened when the universe's most dangerous predator tried to hunt a human." As his ship pulled him up, Krazoth activated his communication system. He sent a message to his home world, to the great council of hunters that ruled his species. "The humans are not prey," he transmitted. "They are something we have no word for. Their planet must be marked forbidden. I barely escaped with my life." He looked down at the small figure of Sarah, growing smaller as his ship lifted away. "Mark this world," he added. "The universe's most dangerous predators live here, and they call themselves human." Sarah watched the ship disappear into the clouds. The storm had passed, the forest would recover, and humanity had just won its first interstellar victory without even knowing war had been declared, except for one park ranger, who kept the secret and watched the stars with new eyes.